Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 149 of Super Deformed Gamescast for Thursday, May 30th. If you're not aware, Super Deformed Gamescast meets right here each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss the latest gaming headlines with a wide variety of panel members and guests. We also do a whole bunch of other stuff as time allows, like a separate show about movies and television, community game streaming, and a mental health support show. And, of course, we also have a morning show that we do every 2 weeks now, every Friday, and that goes live again tomorrow. If you've been along for the ride so far, welcome home. And if not, hey, feel free to stick around and maybe throw us a subscription. Every single podcast is archived the next day on our YouTube channel for those who like to watch, and you can find us on all major podcast services for those who like to listen. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
What up?
Doing well.
I like that you were all able to keep your mouths shut while I was doing my intro, so I really appreciate that.
We don't always show it, John, but we do respect you.
I know you do.
Power of the tool.
I know you do. And we've already got. Oh wow, chat is already popping. Thanks for showing up, everybody. We greatly appreciate your presence. And there is a lot to talk about. I do want to say, of course, as you can see here, we are joined by our old friend Josh Silverman at Constantly Calibrating.
Oh, I'm an old friend. I like that.
You're an old friend. You're like a warm pair of socks that I like to put on. And you know what? I don't know where I'm going with that. So just why don't
I've tried to work through that. And
you're
honestly,
you're like my lucky underwear that I wear every Thursday night. You know what? I'm just going to stop talking. I do want to point out that our new anxiety related mental health podcast, Megalixer, which is every Monday.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah. I really like that one. Yeah, it's a good one because it's trying to help everybody, right? It heals everybody. But Megalixer goes live every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and that of course is run by Justin, who is at RoboPlato, and of course Josh, who is a permanent cast member of that. So yeah, it's fantastic. It's good shit. And Jeff, how are you doing, bud? I feel like you haven't been on forever.
It's probably been close to a month. Yeah, I had a bunch of hockey games on Thursdays, so I haven't been able to make it in a few weeks.
I can understand that, dude. You know me, I'm a hockey guy, so I completely understand.
A Blackhawks guy.
I am that's why I'm in a perpetual state of disappointment recently. I'm a Chicago fan in general, so between them and the Cubs and the Bears. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about tonight. Finn is supposed to be here. He is going in and out of Discord. Something's happening with him, but he's added to the call. So Finn, if you can hear us, whenever you get your shit figured out, whenever you get yourself unfucked, you'll be able to pop right back in. Oh shit! Look, JT's in the chat. JT, my man, dude, we miss you. Come back to us, JT. We miss you so much, dude. We love you, buddy. So Call of Duty, Death Stranding, and Marvel's Avengers. I feel like a bunch of shit dropped this week. All within the past 24 hours, it seems like.
Yeah, today, like a flurry of things all kicked off this morning right at Call of Duty time.
Wednesday and Thursday were both just, I feel like, crazy days. It was just a slew of pre-E3 stuff just started hitting.
It really was.
The funny thing is, like, right before the Call of Duty stream, what happened? Bungie tweeted out a bunch of big Destiny teases, and then Apex Legends announced their Season 2 pass, and, like, it totally got lost on my feed because it was just all Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, they know the Call of Duty isn't... are they trying to piggyback off the Call of Duty thing, or are they trying to, like, take something away from them? I don't know. So, I don't think it works too well for them.
I don't think so either. And of course, there's a lot to talk about. So where do we want to start first? I feel like we should start with Death Stranding. Simply because I had this so I had this game pegged for a 2023 release at the earliest, right? And I'm not even fucking around. Like I'm not kidding. I was like, this is a PS5 game. And
I think the fact that it was using the Decima engine kind of gave it a little head start over like a 5 years.
That's true. When you hear about when you hear Shire stories from like Blood, Sweat, and Pixels and the game development, like so much time is spent fighting with the tools and engines and like getting things to where you want them and to do what you want them to do. So I think like Guerrilla handing them the Decima engine, and it sounds like it's a pretty good tool set and pretty easy to use. Like you could just jump right in and start creating the game. That's got to be a huge advantage.
I legitimately thought Death Stranding was going to be like it was going to turn out to be just like a sudden dropped movie at the beginning of 2020, and then we wouldn't hear another thing about an actual game until like 2023 or 2024.
But here's the thing, right? Like, so like the trailer drops, and we had Nibelian had actually he was one of the guys who had tweeted out that there was supposedly a leak of the release date, which is November 8th, and that there was a trailer dropping soon. And then of course we got the news that we were going to get a trailer. The whole tomorrow is in your hands thing, then there was what? There was a 24-hour live stream on Twitch of just random bullshit with a bunch of handprints. And Brandon, at one point, what, like a couple tens of thousands of people were watching this shit for hours, right?
It was over 100,000. Well,
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus
like
Christ.
at the final moment, it was at like over 100. For the last few hours, it was over 100K.
People are. I mean, Kojima's still like, you know, Kojima's game's still fucking.
What's that trailer for the views right now? It's
Last I checked, it was at 2.8 million
It's a lot,
within like
yeah.
8 hours, which already surpassed the most recent FF7 trailer.
No, dude, it is 5.3 million.
Holy shit!
That's fucking insane, dude.
The E3 trailer from last year is 5.5 million. So the trailer from yesterday is about to pass that.
I remember when this thing was announced in 2016, and Kojima at PSX walked down that ramp like he was a WWE wrestler with the video behind him and the fanfare. They made a big deal out of it. God, I feel like my mind is fucking blown that we're actually going to be playing this this year. I've got the premise for the game right here. It says, in the near future, mysterious explosions have rocked the globe, setting off a series of supernatural events known as the Death Stranding. With otherworldly creatures plaguing the landscape and mass extinction imminent, it's up to Sam Porter Bridges. That sounds like a brewery. To travel across the ravaged wasteland and save humanity from impending annihilation. And the article from The Verge goes on to say, the goal of the game is to reunite a broken nation while carrying a huge amount of cargo, which apparently requires a variety of activities, including what looks to me like briefcase combat.
That sounds a lot like Evangelion without the giant robots.
Oh, that's a really good way of putting it, dude.
I've never really heard the concept explained out like that before. I was like, oh, that's Evangelion without,
So,
you know.
has everybody here actually watched the trailer?
I mean, I was watching the trailer when
Like,
we were getting
literally
ready, and I
5
got
minutes
halfway
before
through
we
it.
went live, yeah. I still don't know what the fuck this game is about, which is fine. I don't, you know, I don't need to know what it's, you know, I enjoy the mystery of it. You know what it reminds me of? I'm probably dating myself here, but in 2008, when Cloverfield came out, there was a really clever marketing campaign leading up to that. Yeah. Like they had this website with these pictures you can move around and draw clues from, and nobody really knew what the movie was about.
Yeah.
And
then it turned out to just be a found footage monster.
Yeah, it was just a found footage monster movie. But like honestly, like the marketing leading up to Cloverfield was a lot more interesting
than the actual film. I agree.
Yeah. And I am afraid that the same thing might be true here. Not due to any fault of the game itself, but just due to the fact that, I mean, this thing is being massively hyped. And I feel like it's, you know, I feel like there is the distinct possibility of this thing disappointing some people or giving people a game that they weren't either expecting or didn't want. This comes off to me as a survival horror game, right? And Jeff, you had said that you'd be fine with it being a walking simulator.
Yeah, I don't remember if I said that or someone else did, but I would be. I mean, I'm fine. I don't really have like, I'm fine with whatever the gameplay is as long as it services the story. And I just like you said, I don't know.
Ladders down.
Yeah, like what's the angle of this game, right? Is it about the world or is it about like specific events or specific characters? So like, you know, if it's really heavy on like plot beats and characters, I don't know if I want to spend a lot of time wandering around a barren world. But if the game's designed around kind of helping repair that world and experiencing and exploring it and just taking it in, then, you know, I'm fine with that. I just, you know, Metal Gear Solid 5 had an open world, but that wasn't meant to be explored. It was basically a sandbox for you to plan missions and kind of operate as a, like, you know, run your stealth objectives and stuff like that and use it for planning. So I don't know, like, I'm not expecting there to be a lot of like lore items hidden and collectibles and NPCs to talk to. Like, it's probably going to be pretty barren, but I think that makes sense in the context of the game.
So Sam and our friend Sam Tolbert in chat, you guys can check him out at the Inner Circle. He'll be at E3. He makes a good point. He says it appears that the game has eldritch type creatures that have come to Earth and are altering the landscape, and there are definitely some
floating. They're always like floating and
there's one I definitely got some like H.P. Lovecraft like Call of Cthulhu vibes from some of the things that I saw in the trailer. So it'll be interesting to see if Kojima kind of leans into that cosmic horror vibe, much like Miyazaki did for Bloodborne. Which was one of my favorite things about that game. Honestly, that was a great little reveal.
Yeah, I remember playing Bloodborne without knowing that stuff was going to happen.
Me too.
And then you go into that one cathedral and you come
into
out
Yahar'gul.
Yeah,
that was a great.
That was a very cool moment.
Has anyone talked about or asked, like, I mean, we've seen kind of like the World War II soldier aspect of it, and like there was that tank in the most recent trailer. Is there some sort of time travel with this game? Like, have they talked about that?
I was wondering that myself, and I don't think they have. What I am most curious about right now is curious is a bad word. I am most like the thing that excites me the most about the game is the actual talent that they have in it. Norman Reedus is a really good actor, but fucking Mads Mikkelsen, dude.
I've loved Mads Mikkelsen since Casino Royale.
So do I, dude. Like he's a great fucking character actor. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Valhalla Rising, by the way, a little off topic, but he plays a Viking warrior in that movie, and it's a fucking awesome foreign language movie. You guys got to check it out. I get the distinct impression that he is the antagonist of the game. Is he the villain? Are we going to go ahead?
I'm very curious. Yeah, what the hell is it? Because it's like sometimes he's like just talking to you normally, but then he's like fucking Commander Ghost Zero, like walking through the flames and whatever. Like what the.
So and like I wonder if. I feel like one of Metal Gear Solid 5's biggest problems was that, and he did this in Metal Gear Solid 4 too, which I really like. But Kojima kinds to go off on tangents. His games. I mean, Brandon, what like Metal Gear Solid 4 had what like 2 hour and a half cutscenes.
I never even played it.
It was near the end of the game that. Near the end of the game, the length of the cutscenes in that game got really, really remarkable. And I feel like Metal Gear Solid is a series that kind of got lost in its own lore near the end. And so, like, I don't necessarily count on Kojima to tell me a super coherent, intelligible story. But what I do...
yeah, apparently it's completely unintelligible because now Finn is telling me it's not even the character I was thinking it was. I'm watching the trailer again, like at the end.
I think like his games aren't about one thing; they're about 10 different things.
Yeah,
but most of those things are usually pretty interesting, and the way that they're delivered is pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
so I think that's why he gets away with it.
Okay.
It'll also be really interesting to see how Kojima handles characterization of women in this game, because I was among the numerous people who had problems with the way Quiet was depicted in Metal Gear Solid 5, and the woman one of the women's name is Fragile, like literally her name is Fragile, and there's another there's two that were in the trailer. What was the other one?
Fragile and Mama. Is it Mama or
is it Mama?
Yeah, it's Mama. Yeah.
Mama and Fragile. Yeah. Mama and Fragile, and just like somebody in chat just said it just kind of shot by, but yeah, Mama and Fragile aren't exactly good indicators of how Kojima is going to handle women in this game. Imran in chat says Kojima retweeted a tweet that said "Fragile Mama paging Dr. Freud," which I am guessing he did not understand.
Yeah, there's a language barrier there sometimes.
Yeah, there is. So Josh, I want to kick it over to you. You have seen the trailer now, and of course we know precious little about this game, but what are you hoping for out of Death Stranding? Like, what do you want this to be?
I mean, at this point, I'm not really sure, because this was, I think I'm echoing what a few people have said. Prior to this trailer, prior to like this surge of like actual quasi information, I was done with the game. I was never really super into it. I was never super into it. I've literally, the only Kojima stuff I played is I played Ground Zeroes, and I played like 10 to 15 hours of Metal Gear Solid 5 and loved both experiences, but I've never really been a Kojima person. And for me, it's just like, okay, this sounds cool. This looks interesting. I will watch someone stream it maybe. But after what I've seen the trailer and read about this, I'm just really interested kind of in what this world may be. what we're actually exploring. And there's something up on the website that's like a bunch of different like key parts of the game, and one of them is death is not the end. And it says there's no traditional game over state in Death Stranding. Lose your life during combat, and you'll find yourself in an upside down realm, searching for your way back to living. And then choose
Like
your
Prey?
combat method. Choose your combat methods carefully as killing your. Hold on, let me read.
All right.
Choose your combat methods carefully as killing your foes almost never the solution, and every death carries a consequence. Shit like that
Yeah, so that's
pulls me into the game. So the visuals plus that kind of death mechanic and don't kill people, do kill people kind of thing. That's enough for me. If the movement and gameplay is interesting.
Going way back to the PlayStation 1 era, didn't Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver have a similar death mechanic? Or am I completely fucked up? When you died, weren't you drawn into some kind of spirit realm? And you had to like absorb the souls of your enemies and find your body in order to like re-inhabit it? I might be off base here, but that sounds similar to Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver on PlayStation 1. I know that there was a shift ability that you could, jump back and forth between worlds. Planet Full of Tokens says I think so. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that, I mean, it's a cool sounding mechanic. Don't get me wrong.
So the genre, Kojima just tweeted that the name of the genre is just Strand game.
Strand game? What the fuck does that even mean? That literally means less than nothing.
The other day he was talking all about Mads fans and all the different kinds of Mads that are in the game, like sad Mads, angry Mads.
Jesus Christ. A Strand game.
Was it? There's Die Hardman.
Die Hardman.
Oh fuck! I forgot about Die Hardman.
The follow up to Cold Hot or
Hot Coldman. Hot Coldman.
Peace Walker. Yeah.
That is Die Hardman is the most Kojima fucking name I have ever heard in my life.
It's pretty good.
Well, just to follow up on what Josh said, like I love when games try to upend what we're used to expecting from a action game. So when you think about how many games you shoot other enemies and kill them, and when you die, it's game over and you restart. So anything that makes you think more about those engagements in terms of how you would approach the enemies and how you engage them and the consequences to your death, that's always an interesting twist. So that has me actually way more interested in the game. I didn't know that till just now.
So, no, Josh, go ahead.
No, I said, yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot about this game that's slowly starting to churn out and slowly starting to interest me, and it's kind of surprising me and also bothering me that I'm interested because I had no plans at all of looking into this game.
It's weird. I wouldn't say that I am excited for it simply because I don't know enough about it.
Sure.
I'm intrigued. Like I'll play it. I'm sure that I'll play it. Simply because it looks, I can always count on, like, if nothing else, Kojima always likes to make his games fucking weird as shit, which appeals to me. Look at that, Jeff is now a Twitch Prime sub, and so he finally got the Saki emoji. Guys, everybody in chat, if you have not subbed with Twitch Prime, got that Saki emoji waiting for you. I don't know what you're waiting on personally. I'm just saying, dude, that Saki emoji is hot. But I don't know enough about Death Stranding to be excited about it, and maybe that is.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Maybe that also has something to do with the fact that this year is just fucking packed with games that I'm excited about.
There's plenty of good stuff coming out. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you think people are always like, oh, what's going to be the game of the year in January and February? Like, you don't even know what the fuck is coming out this year. Games like Death Stranding get announced at the end of May.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
This year. Yeah, it's like what's coming out in November that hasn't been confirmed yet that we don't know. Like,
well, and what's
probably some good shit.
Well, and what's interesting, Brandon, is of course this is as far as we know right now a PS4 exclusive, and I get the distinct impression that if Sony had not canceled their E3 appearance this year, this is something that we would not be talking about right now. This is something that would have been dropped at E3.
Sure.
Presumably.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Sam in chat says, remember when people thought that The Last of Us Part 2 was coming this year? I do. I thought it was coming this year. I
never thought this year.
It sounds like it was, and they just decided to kind of push it back for a little bit more polish. But I think it sounds from what I've heard that Sony did intend to release it this year.
That's that was my understanding of it as well, Jeff. Like The Last of Us, it's an interesting decision because I feel like The Last of Us 2 is one of those games where they could release it in the middle of the holiday season and it would do just fine. It would do just fine. Nobody's not gonna. The Last of Us 2 is one of those games that other games are gonna move out of the way for. And I don't feel like, I don't know. I just don't feel like there's as much excitement around Death Stranding as there is The Last of Us 2. I feel like there's more questions about Death Stranding than The Last of Us 2, but I don't feel like the hype is any greater for Death Stranding, which makes this kind of an interesting decision for me. I would have figured that even though it's a Kojima game, and of course it's Hideo Kojima, I would have thought that a new untested IP would be better served for a early 2020 January-February release. Josh, what do you think about that?
For
Death Stranding,
maybe. I don't know. I'm not really sure at this point. When it comes to release date stuff, I never really have a solid idea on things.
There was something else I wanted to hit on about Death Stranding, but I can't remember exactly what it was.
Are we going to talk about the fact for $200 you can get a
yeah.
That's exactly what it was, Jeff. Jeff, why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
I don't know what else to add.
I'd like
collector's edition comes with I think it's basically life size. They had a picture of it in the Kojima Productions office, and it's like fucking huge.
It's
a fetus.
It's literally a fetus lamp. That's really the best way to play it or to say it. It's a fetus lamp.
I saw the Kojima tweet of it.
It's a fetus lamp, and I had said on Twitter, I was like, imagine bringing a date home, and her seeing that in your living room, like walking over, just turning it on. Let me get the light for you. Like trying to fucking explain that one.
The clapper. Make it a clapper.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're not a gamer. You wouldn't know about Baby Pod.
My favorite thing is Tom Johnson just tweeted yesterday, I bought the Baby Pod, and my immediate thought was, I need to save a link to this tweet because if my wife and I ever have a third kid, I'm just retweeting that as an announcement, no other information, because that's just literally all I could think of when I saw that.
And don't forget, there is also the what was it? The gold shades, the gold exoskeleton suit, and like the gold, like the gilded gold backpack, right? Which I'm having a hard time trying to square with because that shit seems so out of place. With the overall aesthetic.
The homo demons, they wear like a gold skull mask or something.
I'm sorry,
like that.
the what?
Homo demons? Homo demons, like Homo sapiens, but Homo demons. That's what they're called in the trailer.
Okay, I totally I hadn't heard that. Okay, yeah.
They only mention it once, but someone in the trailer narrates it and calls them that. So yeah, they've got like a gold skull.
I must have missed that one
over top of their mask.
I completely missed the Homo demons.
Okay.
Oh, boy, well.
It's a Kojima game.
So we've got a woman named Fragile, a woman named Mama, and the Homo demon. Okay, Kojima. All right. Hey, who am I? Okay,
Kojima's got a Kojima.
Kojima's gonna. That is literally peak Kojima. That is the most fucking Kojima shit I've ever heard in my life. Sam says there's no way that'll be misinterpreted. Yeah, I'm positive. We've got a lot more to talk about tonight, and I don't want to spend too much time on Death Stranding simply because, like, outside of that trailer and how fucking wild it was, we don't know shit about the game itself. Like, we just don't know. So I don't want to speculate too much on Death Stranding until we can. Although I do think that, you know what, I think it would really benefit Kojima to drop a demo for the game before release, just to familiarize people, or maybe even at least, at the very least, give people a better idea of what they're purchasing. Because go ahead.
No, I was going to say one thing I wanted to touch on. I haven't seen anyone really talk about, not that I don't subscribe to like a game's only worth $60 if it's more than 100 hours. Like I don't really, the hours played aren't important. It's the experience, but I am curious. Do we think this is like, we just talked about the fact that they turned this out in 4 years, which is pretty good for like production of a new IP. Are we thinking this is like a tighter, like, like a Naughty Dog, like a 15, 20 hour experience? Or do we think it's like kind of like Metal Gear Solid 5? I don't remember how long that game was, but like Do we think this is like a really like bloated kind of 50, 60, 70 hour?
Hmm.
I'm sure you could stretch it depending on what you do,
Yeah.
but like the typical like, where do you think this is gonna fall?
I think, you know what, I'm guessing like
The 15 hours.
Yeah.
yeah, like as far as like world size goes, Jeff, like I'm thinking maybe the Great Plateau in Breath of the Wild. I don't think
Okay.
I don't think you're gonna get a massive like open world where you can peer under every nook and cranny, and the world is
Yeah.
packed with things to do. I mean, didn't they say that the world is barren? Like they came out and said
Mhm.
that they were like, this is
Yeah.
a barren fucking world. So I think the smart play. I'm not a game developer, but I mean,
Mhm.
if your world is barren, then I think the smart play is to make this a more linear experience.
For sure.
And here's the thing, Jeff. Like it's Kojima, so no matter how fucking whacked out the story is, we know that it's going to be heavily narrative driven, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just what he does. That's what we expect from him, and I don't think he's going to deviate from that. So yeah, like I'm with Brandon. I think maybe 15. If it's any longer than 20 hours, I will
Yeah,
immediately
15 or
become
20.
disinterested.
That's where I'm at as well. Pretty much, my thing is like my limit is 20 hours is what I feel like.
When like
There's only so many 100-hour games, or I could take in a year.
part of
Yeah,
that,
I know. I play like 5 hours a week, so a 100-hour game takes me like half a year to finish. and
Yeah, right.
It has to be a really good game for me to keep playing it that long.
well, that like the thing for me is, not that I have like complete burnout on huge open world games, right? Like I've got like 200 hours in Breath of the Wild. The thing for me is there are so many games that I'm playing right now, and I've just become fucking hooked on Final Fantasy 14, which I can't fucking believe I waited as long as I did to play that game. But like I don't have time for another 50, 70 hour experience right now. I don't. Like I feel actually legit stressed out by as many games as I do have to play.
Well, and not only that, like at some point a game just becomes repetitive, so the way they get
Yeah.
around that is progression, right? You gradually introduce new mechanics, new abilities, new powers, stuff like that, and then you gradually introduce new story, new gameplay amounts. But you can't, if you stretch it over 100 hours, you're doling it out too slowly, and if you give it to everyone at the start, once you have all the tools, how long can you play that game before you just simply are done with that mechanically, right? Like
Yep.
it has to be a really, really good game to keep me around for long. So I agree, like 15 to 20 hours for like a narrative driven game, that's my limit. And I think that'd be the sweet spot.
I feel like that was one of the issues with Red Dead Redemption 2 for me, Jeff. And I'm speaking as somebody who loved the first one. It felt absolutely no mechanically different from Red Dead Redemption 1 to me. And when I found out that it's like literally a 60, 70 hour game, I was like, no, like no, there's nothing compelling about that.
Red Dead's like one of my favorite games ever, and I haven't even started the second one. Every time I think about it, I look at like how long to beat and look at the average playtime. I'm like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah,
I can't do this.
I can't, dude. I can't. And so I am holding. I don't think that this is going to be a 50, 70 hour experience. That's not what he does. Generally speaking, but who knows what the future is going to bring with Death Stranding. But it is going to be really interesting to see how that game turns out. I do want to kind of switch the focus of the conversation over to, you know what? Let's talk about the Avengers next, and we'll save Call of Duty for last. So we learned recently that we had actually brought this up on SDGC before, the fact that we know that there was an Avengers game coming from Crystal Dynamics being published by Square Enix, and we knew fucking nothing about it, and we kept expecting it to be revealed, we kept expecting it to show up, and it never did, and finally we are going to see it at E3 during Square Enix's Monday conference this year, but we now have some information about the game, and I've got an article from GameSpot here that I pulled up to read from, so full credit to them. And we had some leaks. It says here, details on the game have leaked via the E3 Coliseum website. That information has now been removed from the site, but not before they were spotted online. They revealed that the upcoming Marvel superhero game will feature both solo and co-op gameplay, among a few other intriguing tidbits. So here's the description for the game, and Jeff and I and Maddie had a discussion about this in the SDGC DM today. It says, embrace your powers and join key members of the development team at Crystal Dynamics and the creative team at Marvel Games as they talk exclusively about the upcoming Marvel's Avengers. This is the defining Avengers gaming experience, an epic action adventure that combines cinematic storytelling with continuous single-player and cooperative gameplay. Moderated by Andrea Rene, assemble in teams up to 4 players, master extraordinary abilities, customize your heroes to fit your playstyle, and combine powers to defend an ever-expanding world under constant threat. When you look at this language and you see other things that have popped up on social media, this distinctly sounds like an MMO or some kind of a Destiny type experience.
Well, check what Imran wrote in chat. He wrote, I guess I can say now that I've been hearing for months that the game is more like the old THQ pitch than people think. Someone once described it to me as Overwatch-like. And my interest just bottomed out.
That is not appealing to me whatsoever. If that's true, if that is accurate, if that's what Jeff, I don't know, what do you think, man? Like, because you had made the point, Jeff, about 20 Captain Americas.
Well,
you know,
like, so they say it's a co-op game. They say you play as heroes. They don't say which heroes, but my line of thinking was this game is called The Avengers. The teaser trailer showed off like Captain America's shield and stuff like that. So like, I feel like it's not unreasonable for people to have been looking forward to playing as the Avengers in the Avengers game. But the way that they're phrasing this, where you're teaming up with friends and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, so maybe limiting to 4. So either you play as Avengers like Iron Man and Captain America, etc., and you just play as a few of those characters, or you create your own character in the Avengers universe, which sounds like a really interesting game in its own, but I don't think that's what people are expecting from this. I think people, when was the last time we actually got to play a top tier AAA game, flying around as Iron Man, throwing Captain America's shield? Like, I feel like that's what people are wanting from this game, and I'm worried it's not going to give it to them. So, you know, I think you can get away with the multiple heroes thing. Like, there was a game called Marvel Heroes, which was basically like Diablo with Marvel, but it was a Marvel game. So you had like 50, 60 characters, a ton of people to choose from. When you're making an Avengers game, it's very distinctly Avengers. There's a small group of people that you think about when you think about that game. So I'm just like, either you're just running a strike or a raid with another Captain America and another Thor, because those are like the classes, or you're creating your own character and you're doing quests for those characters. But I didn't even consider like an Overwatch style ability hero based game, which is
like that
interesting.
Look, I don't want to shit all over it before I've even seen it, right? Because that's not fair to the developers. That's not fair to the game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I think where I'm at, Jeff, is where, like, it's kind of similar to what you were just talking about. Like, I had this idea in my head about what I wanted from an Avengers game, right? I would love just like a Spider-Man game, but like, let me pick between Captain America, Thor, the Hulk, and Iron Man, right? Like, I would have been fine with that.
Yikes! That is a game that is impossible to make.
It probably is. But in the same token, like, I will say this: if you can create your own hero, I am absolutely making a hero named Bathfart, and his his actual undercover name, like his civilian name, is going to be Edward Doofler. Like, that's Bathfart, man. Like, I'm telling you right now, that's the superhero of the future right there, Josh.
No, you could change your PSN name now, so you could pick that if you really.
I can if I want to lose all my trophies, but or at least half my trophies, maybe. But there was something else that I had seen about Marvel's Avengers. Where is it? Says here, the original teaser seemed to imply that the game story would focus on the Avengers reassembling after the time of heroes has long since passed. So I don't know.
That's very Overwatch-like.
I was going to say, that sounds like Overwatch. Is the description.
It really does.
Is the plot of Overwatch.
It really does. And so there had been of course, in the January 2017 teaser trailer. By the way, just 2017, so it's like 2.5 years ago we saw this teaser trailer. And in the teaser trailer, we see Captain America's vibranium shield, Iron Man's repulsor gauntlet, Thor's Mjolnir hammer and Bruce Banner's cracked glasses, suggesting the game could focus on the first team of Avengers. Though nothing pointed to the two original Avengers, Ant-Man, Giant Man, and Wasp Man, are shown. Because of how damaged the shield, gauntlet, hammer, and glasses in the trailer are, the video could also be hinting that Marvel's Avengers takes place in the aftermath of the original team's defeat and to see the rise of a new generation of heroes. How much, with that description, how much do you guys want to bet that this is like a post-Snap game?
I don't know about Snap, but it's like a post-event game.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm just using the Snap as like an example, you know, because we're so close to Endgame. I'm willing to bet that some catastrophe has hit the world, hit the planet, whether it's, you know, the Snap or whether it's something else, and the Avengers are literally trying to assemble. I can totally see that happening. I really fucking hope, Jeff, that it's not like a loot-based game. That's not what I'm looking for from Avengers at all.
Well, what was the phrasing? They didn't mention loot, right? They said customize. Is that the word they used?
I think
so. Selling skins.
Yeah, so that could be like you can customize yourself in any game. So we can't read into that too much, I guess.
Yeah. So, which honestly kind of reinforces the whole Overwatch style game to me. Because I mean, like, you know, let's look at Captain America, right? Like, let's say you pick Captain America as your hero, which if you're thinking about it, like, you know, Overwatch forces you into one hero type, right? Like, you can't have a team full of, you know, I think, what mode is it, Brandon, where you can't have a team full of, like, you know, Winstons, for example?
Oh, yeah. Well, when the game first came out, you could have as many.
You could, right?
You wanted, and then they eventually changed it to only one hero limit.
Exactly, which kind of, Jeff, gets around the, you know, the question of, well, what if we just have 6 Captain Americas, right? That doesn't make any sense. So, and when they're talking about customizable characters, like Josh said, I could totally see them. I mean, there's a billion Captain America skin possibilities, from, you know, like World War II Captain America to, like, you know, Hydra Supreme Captain America.
I mean, the opportunity to have like a Fortnite style rotating 24-hour store is like very high.
The more we fucking talk about this, the more convinced I'm becoming that that's exactly what this is.
Well, so there's a couple things. Like, they call it co-op, which to me is PvE. Typically, not PvP. So, like, I mean, even if it's still hero based, the fact that they use the word co-op makes me think it's not like an actual hero, like, online multiplayer. Like, you're not fighting against other groups and teams, even if you're picking individual heroes. But the other thing I was thinking is, like, if they're gonna go the route of, like, your team can only have one of each hero, then there's not a traditional character progression like there is in Destiny and Division and stuff like that. Because, like, you're not going to roll a character and spend 100 hours building them up like you're Captain America, and then you're like, hey, I want to play with my buddy, but he's also Captain America. Like,
I wish
you'd have to roll a whole new character, like
something.
Yeah,
like this game could be anything. Like, I wish they just like gave some sort of solid idea what the game is.
Indication as to what it is before E3.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know. Like, this is one of the games.
Like,
at E3
what genre is the game?
like I mean, literally, Brandon. Like, it could be like, with the description we have, it could be literally fucking anything. Like, it could be a Borderlands style game. Because like
it could look like anything. It could have any camera angle. Like, I don't know what the hell it's gonna look like.
Like, here's the thing. So that's another question, right? Like, if let's just like play devil's advocate for a minute and assume that it's an Overwatch style game, right? Like, I would assume that it would have like a comic booky style, you know,
but in third person, right? It won't be a first person game.
You don't think so?
I don't.
I don't know, man. I could totally see this being a first person
superhero games are there?
Well, fuck, maybe none. So who? Yeah, I mean, maybe this is gonna be the pioneer, man. Maybe this is gonna be the first one. But I mean, this, for all we know, like you know, Jeff made a really good point when he said that when you hear co-op, you're not really thinking PvP, you're thinking more PvE, right? So there, you know, there's something right there. Like, this could totally be like a Borderlands style experience where each of you plays one hero, or even maybe like a Diablo experience. Where each of you plays one hero, and, you know, you're getting loot drops and stuff like that. That still sounds, but then again,
Ultimate Alliance?
That sounds more like Ultimate Alliance, yeah. So I mean, like regardless, if you like games and you like comic books, then it's a really good time to be alive right now, because we've got, you know, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 coming out, and you've also got this Marvel Avengers game coming out. But I do agree with Jeff. Jeff, I think you made a really good point when you said that I feel like this game is going to, I guess for lack of a better word, disappoint a lot of people who are going to be expecting one thing and are going to be given something completely different. And that's not really any fault of the game.
I just don't understand. It's just a weird press release. Like, it didn't really give us any solid information, so it just feels like it reminded us it existed, but just raised more questions. Like, if they weren't going to actually reveal the game, I don't understand why they didn't just wait till E3, or even just say like it's going to be at E3. Like, they kind of just, I don't understand what we're supposed to do with the information they gave us.
So, like,
wait till fucking June 10th.
Exactly, right? Like we have friends on this podcast who are in the industry and who are in the know on this stuff. And so I'm gonna hypothesize here. So I could be very, very wrong about this. I'm sure some of our friends are far more knowledgeable, but I get the distinct impression. I mean, the initial trailer, like I said, was 2.5 years ago now, right? And we have seen literally or heard literally nothing about the game in 2.5 years. And you have to think
there's a Twitter account called "Have We Heard Anything About the Avengers?"
About the Avengers, yeah, right,
they
right.
tweeted no every day for like 2 years straight.
And so you have to imagine that the game had been conceptualized and development had begun before that teaser trailer, right? I get the distinct impression that this game has gone through several different iterations, and before they were able to actually, I get the idea that there was a lot of internal conflict as to what this game was supposed to be, and I don't know, like I don't want to sit here, like Jeff, I had said earlier, like I don't want to shit on the game because it's just not fair to the game. It's not fair. We don't know anything about it really. This is all speculation. At the same time, I can't help but agree with you, Jeff, in that I feel like this one has the potential, I think at the very least, to be very divisive.
Yeah, maybe it'll be awesome though.
I hope it is, dude. Me, I fucking love comics. I love Marvel.
Will they show gameplay at E3? Like actual gameplay?
Yes, they will.
They have to.
They fucking have to.
I agree. They have
to. I need to know like what
this is Square.
Like.
It would be,
I know.
Yeah, Jeff makes a good point. That would be the most Square Enix fucking thing. would be to like hype this up and give us a 3-minute CG sizzle reel.
Cinematic.
Yeah.
Oh,
but Shadow Haxor in chat says they have to, and I agree. They fucking have to.
I need to know what the gameplay is like.
I get the distinct impression that this and Final Fantasy VII Remake are going to be like the two big showcases for Square
Which one
Enix.
opens? Which one closes?
It closes with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it opens with the Avengers. They're not.
And it closes with a release date for FF7.
I agree completely, Jeff.
Or release window.
It's going to be a date.
Yeah, it's going to be spring. It's going to be Slaya. Like
it's going to be.
It's going to give a time of the year.
100%, it's going to be at least a release window, and it'll be sometime next year, at least for episode 1. But I agree. Yeah, like it's Marvel. It's going to be the Avengers and Final Fantasy VII, and it's going to open with Marvel because they're like, I feel like there's a lot of interest and excitement and hype around this game. I mean, look at Marvel's profile has never been higher right now, so they're going to want to get out in front of this one and say, okay, you've waited 2.5 years. Here it is. We're not going to make you wait another hour. That's what I think. Anyway, does anybody else have any points anything else they want to say about the Avengers before we move on to Call of Duty?
No.
Anybody? No? Okay.
I mean, it was just a little teaser. We said a lot.
And so we will go ahead and move on to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And no, I'm not talking about the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I'm talking about what is apparently a very dark and gritty reboot. I love that. Yet another dark and gritty reboot for Call of Duty. And we had been hearing rumors about this for a little while now. I've got an article from Kotaku here, written by Joshua Rivera. So full credit to him. I'm going to go ahead and quote this. Following a cryptic tease Tuesday afternoon, Activision announced Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the latest installment in the long-running series of first-person shooters. In a new trailer released Thursday, we got our first look at the rebooted Modern Warfare. So here is what we know about this game. Modern Warfare will ditch the annual pass model, delivering free maps, content, and post-launch events to all players. We don't know what the new model will look like, but the old one offered an average of 4 paid map packs per game. The game will feature crossplay support, which is really, really interesting, between PC and consoles. Kotaku asked Activision for clarification on whether this means Xbox One or PS4 players could play together, but no information is available at this time. I personally think that's a fucking given. I think it's finally going to happen. And per Activision, Modern Warfare will feature a completely new engine, and in the single-player campaign, players will engage in breathtaking covert operations across a diverse cast of international special forces throughout iconic European cities and volatile expanses of the Middle East. And of course, Captain Price is in the game. If you are familiar with Captain or Call of Duty,
New voice actor, but it's still our old boy.
It's still Captain Price. Half of the campaign will unfold from the perspective of an Arab soldier, a female rebel fighter named Farah from an unnamed country that might be Afghanistan. With a name like Farah, I'm assuming it's either Afghanistan or Iran. Per the report, the new Modern Warfare is aiming for a more brutal, morally gray approach, with an extended sequence set in Farah's home as it is terrorized by Russian soldiers, which means it's probably Afghanistan, with civilians and even infants in peril. So I've got a lot of opinions about this, but I wanted to kick it over to Jeff first. Jeff, Jeff, have you seen the trailer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare?
Yeah, I watched it.
What were your what are your initial thoughts coming away from that?
Honestly, I don't have a lot. I'll probably let you guys talk about it more. Visually, it looks really good. It looks like a Call of Duty game. I don't know. From the trailer, I would expect the normal stuff. I didn't get what they're saying about it being really gritty and gray, and some of the more disturbing aspects of it that I've read from some of the interviews and impressions of people watch it. I didn't get that stuff from the trailer.
Yeah, the trailer doesn't make that. Obviously.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Like anything that people are reading is just coming from written previews.
So I don't have strong feelings on. I'm not like a big Call of Duty guy, and I don't have that strong feelings on the game yet. Aside from when we get into like a little bit of the more controversial aspects of it, I'll have a couple things to weigh in. But I'll hand it off. Maybe Josh wants to weigh in.
Josh, go ahead, buddy.
I'm the worst person to talk Call of Duty.
Then why did we even bother having you on, Josh? You knew we were going to talk about it.
I don't know why I'm here for it. No, I mean, Call of Duty is a franchise that, in all honesty, I've literally played. I played the original Modern Warfare, and that's literally it, kind of thing. I always try to.
There you go.
I played like 2 hours of it. I try to say
it's a 4-hour game.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know but the thing is, I was terrible at it because I think that was like the second first-person shooter I played it, and since I was like a little kid.
It auto aims for you. All you have to do is hold the left trigger and then press the right trigger.
I don't remember enough about it to really comment, but no, I try to stay abreast of information on Call of Duty games because I'm always interested to see what they're doing with the franchise. All I know is just from seeing other people's retweets and stuff, there's just some, I don't know, some of the marketing by this game just seems gun fetishist to me a little bit, to an extreme. And
a little bit.
I don't know. It's war game stuff. I think I'm past. I was never super into that, but I like my war, like first person shooter things and the way I play it to be very sci-fi and not at all realistic whatsoever. It's just not something that I don't know. I've just never been comfortable with, I guess is the way to put it.
I grew up playing Counter-Strike from a young age. That's always just been normal for me.
Well, like it's different for guys like Brandon and me. I think because we've actually I'm not trying to be like we've seen combat, but we have, and so I feel like when it comes to games like Call of Duty, we tend to have a different perspective on things.
I'm sure.
Brandon, with the idea that this game is intending anyway to I don't know how you can make war any darker or grittier than it already is. Because war is pretty having been to one, it's pretty fucking dark.
They've tried plenty hard. Like Call of Duty 4, when you die you get quotes about like how much fucking the bombs cost, and you get quotes about they made it very clear that what you were doing wasn't purely the black and white good thing. There was the death from above was played straight, but intentionally unsettling and uncomfortable, and it was very much a power fantasy, and a lot of the the written dialogue is all very much like getting you riled up in the moment and let's go kill everybody.
Exactly.
But,
right. Yeah.
But also the game also did have its side of not unabashedly cheerleading everything that was happening. There's the nukes that your character dies.
I remember that.
Your character dies. I mean, what more statement do you need than like, oh, if you go to war, you're probably not going to make it back home alive. Like your character gets fucking nuked and falls out the back of a
that was the Marine
helicopter and
sergeant,
crawls,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
crawls around and fucking shuts his eyes and dies. Like, so yeah, like the series has definitely tried in the past, and it always depends. It ebbs and it flows with each year depending on who the different developer is that's coming to it. And even the developer is not the same. You have Call of Duty 4 was made by Infinity Ward, that was a completely different Infinity Ward than that's making this one. So you've had so many different takes on Call of Duty over its like 16 years.
16 years, man. Jesus
16
Christ.
years. Yeah.
Fuck. I feel old.
And it started as little more than like a Medal of Honor style, like,
yeah.
What's the closest thing we can make to Saving Private Ryan with modern video game graphics?
That's exactly what it was. Yep. Absolutely.
I did like the early ones. Yeah, not to be like I played Call of Duty before it was popular, but like I remember playing the original couple on PC, where you actually got to play from the perspective of like the Russians and the Americans, like the three different viewpoints. And I always thought that approach was interesting, and I think it was pretty unique at the time. So, with the news that the new one is going to have you play as half the game as like an Arab soldier, that's I think like an interesting decision.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's very fitting for the series.
But to backtrack a little bit, I do have a little bit of opinions on Call of Duty just before you guys get into the more serious stuff. Just from like a game or mechanical side, I guess I just haven't been interested because it's always people talk about like the multiplayer with Call of Duty, I feel like. And my experience with the multiplayer in Call of Duty is like I run 5 seconds and get thrown in the with a knife in the back and die, and some 10-year-old was like yelling at me.
That was my experience
chat.
with Black Ops 4.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy it. And I played a lot of Call of Duty.
And I respawn, and then the same thing happens again. So the campaigns were really hit and miss. I played Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, and I would describe the campaigns as like just like a good action Michael Bay, like kind of you're just in for the ride. They're not anything spectacular, but they're kind of schlocky fun. And so I enjoyed that aspect of it. But again, that's like you're looking at the tonal difference depending on the developer and the vision of it. So that's going to be very different with this one. That's really all I had to say.
Where I'm at is like it's no secret that I've never been into Call of Duty games, and I tweeted about this. I had a big long thread about it today. When I hear that we're gonna be darker, we're gonna be grittier, like I think about No Russian from which was what Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3,
2009.
It was 2009. Okay. And which I played that one, and as I was walking through the airport, like I was one of those guys, Brandon, who didn't pull the trigger, right? Because I
shot everybody.
Brandon, you monster! You monster! But I've got this thing where, and look, like I am not begrudging. Like I want to preface it with this: I am not begrudging anybody for being excited about Call of Duty. At the end of the day, it's a video game. Like it's not real.
And how many people are going to play the campaign? Like 80% of people are going to just play the multiplayer.
They're just going to go straight to the multiplayer. I think for me personally, having seen some pretty hairy shit, having seen like Brandon, I'm sure you remember 6 Days in Fallujah. Right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like it was built in 2007 as the game that was going to provide a realistic experience, a realistic battlefield experience.
At a time where like the idea of a military, Arma was still very early.
Exactly.
Like we had what was that Xbox game, the like strategy one?
Oh God,
Full Spectrum Warrior.
Full Spectrum Warrior or something like that. Yeah.
Stuff like so we had stuff like that. So it was kind of like. It felt like it was sort of trying to combine what Full Spectrum Warrior was doing,
right?
Something more like Call of Duty.
Well, and so like 6 Days in Fallujah built itself as a third-person survival horror game.
Survival horror, which is the way a war game should be.
That's the way it should be. And the premise of the game was your I can't remember if it was a Marine or a soldier, but he was going to be stranded in Fallujah for 6 days.
It was a Marine unit.
It was a Marine. Okay. He was going to be stranded in Fallujah for 6 days on his own, separated from his unit, and you had to get back to them. And like the majority of the game would take place at night because you want to move at night, and there was going to be a survival horror aspect to it, and they hired a bunch of veterans to consult on the game, and it built itself as a realistic depiction of war in a video game, which is fine. Of course, the game never came out. And now I feel like Call of Duty is trying to reinvent itself and get rid of, I guess, for lack of a better term, some of the schlock, some of the over the top bombastic stuff, and try to portray a war as it really is. And I have, over the course of my life, come to the conclusion that I don't think that's possible, and I don't think it's desirable for me anyway. Because, having been involved in combat situations where, for example, you have, like, people can say that I want to try to capture an accurate combat experience. I want to try to capture the spirit of what it's like to be at war. But in my opinion, there's no game that can capture the experience of, for example, having to be on the lookout for piano wire strung across the road when you're in a turret in an attempt to behead you. There's no game that can accurately depict what it feels like to see a bunch of individuals with explosives wrapped around their bodies inject themselves full of atropine and morphine and come running screaming at you. When you fire these individuals, nothing happens because they're so drugged. I mean, they literally can't feel anything. There is no game that can accurately depict what it feels like to watch your gunnery sergeant get completely obliterated by a rocket 30 feet away from you. There's no game that can accurately show what that feels like, what it's like to actually experience that. And I have seen these things. And I don't ever want to see them again. I don't want to experience that again. So when you're talking about survival horror, I'm sorry, I know I'm getting long-winded here. I'll try to wrap it up. But when you're talking about survival horror, I love survival horror games. Like Resident Evil 2 is the easy favorite for my game of the year so far. I love Silent Hill. I love Fatal Frame. I love Resident Evil. But I love these games because they are not realistic situations. I will never, hopefully, encounter a demonic nurse or a zombie or, a monster in real life. That's not something that is going to happen. But I have been in.
I mean, I saw someone. What?
Go ahead.
What's that 1985 Russian war movie?
War Games.
No, it's
Come
Come
on,
and
War
See. I saw.
Red Dawn. Red Dawn.
No, Come and See.
Come and See.
I saw someone earlier say, "How do you make a video game out of Come and See?"
Yeah.
I think that kind of sums up what you're trying to say. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's a movie that shows it's a 2.5-hour film that shows a very interesting perspective of war with very little action or combat. It has a very memorable piece at the end, but for the most part, it's not an action movie at all. It is a war movie.
It's a treatise on war.
Yeah. How do you make that a video game? You can't. So, different mediums are adept at delivering different experiences, and I just don't think video games as a medium are maybe mature enough to really display war, the true horrors of war. Like, I mean, find a bigger Spec Ops: The Line fan than me, and you won't.
Yeah.
But that game, I mean, that game has a lot of problems. That game is not perfect. It didn't perfectly achieve every goal it was trying to. It's kind of cheesy in a lot of ways, and it does. It's got plot holes and stuff. So I feel like there's still a long way to go till we get like a video game that really, like the Jacob's Ladder of video games.
Right. Yeah.
That's Come and See a video game. Those sort of war movies just can't be done in games yet.
Well, and I don't think they need to be done. I don't think they should be done because
or do they need to is it fine for video games to be what they are now?
I think it's I applaud I applaud IW for wanting to do it. I think it's good to be ambitious, and I think it's good to try to bring new experiences to gamers. And again, I want to stress, there's nothing wrong being excited about this game at all. I'm speaking purely from a personal perspective. As somebody who's been in these situations, it just doesn't. It's not appealing to me, one bit. If you wanted to make Call of Duty the absolute least appealing to me, like it already wasn't something that I was interested in, but this is how you do it. And that's not an inherent fault of the game. Maybe that's just a me problem, but having been involved in those situations, I just, I go to games for escapism. you know, and these are, to put it quite frankly, I guess the best way to sum it up would be, I have experienced things that I don't ever want to experience again, ever. And that's just not my idea of a good time. It's not, you know? So just not excited about it at all. And Imran said something in chat that I wanted to mention up. He said, I mentioned this on Twitter, but at one point a developer said this game has scenes that look like live leak footage, and I remember audibly sighing, Christ. Jesus, come on, guys. Live leak footage? Are you kidding me? I guess at the end of the day, Brandon, I just don't trust I don't trust them to be able to handle this kind of topic with the
in
nuance.
a mainstream game like Call of Duty.
Yeah. I don't trust their ability to do that.
It's a game. I mean, like I said before, it's a game that sells primarily on the back of its purely for fun multiplayer. So there's only so much they can do, you know, with a single player campaign and a game that sells fucking 10 million copies in a few months.
I am. And here's the thing, like, I am super intrigued about the idea of a game from the perspective of a Pashtun from Afghanistan fighting the Russians. You know, like that to me is fascinating, because that is a story that you don't see in games. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in the late 1980s is just an incredible time, and that's why they call Afghanistan the graveyard of empires, because the Soviets went in there and fought the Mujahideen, and they were chased the fuck out. And it was a very difficult time for Afghanistan. So to be able to depict that is something that is super appealing to me, because I've got a long history with that. I've been to Afghanistan 5 fucking times. I am very familiar with the people. I would love to see more stories like that told in games. These stories from cultures and parts of the world that people who haven't been there, people who don't know about this stuff would never usually get to experience. But when it's wrapped in the flavor of a call, I don't feel like that's the best medium for telling these stories, Brandon. I don't. Because again, it all falls back to trust. I don't trust them to be able to tell that story with any kind of nuance.
We're a long way away from the real heart of darkness of video games.
Yeah,
because it wasn't Spec Ops: The Line, and
that's
we
a
still
really good way of putting it.
Like,
Brandon, I really like.
I mean, they tried. That was their ambition, was to be the heart of darkness of games,
yeah.
And that was their main inspiration. But they didn't get there, and a lot of it, like I said, it's the inherent limitations of the medium that they're trying to tell their story in. And games are very young. We still have a long way to go. In a lot of ways, they're still just limited by the technology available to even achieve the visions that they have in their
exactly.
brains. So as games evolve and storytelling methods evolve, I feel like maybe eventually they'll get there. But
I want to kick it over to Jeff and then Josh. Obviously, you guys have never been in a combat situation, and you're lucky for that, to be perfectly honest with you. I got a question in chat from Chief Tom. I'll answer that in a minute, but I want to get to Jeff and Josh. There's nothing wrong with not ever being in a combat scenario. Don't envy anybody for going to war. You shouldn't. Is what I talked about, Josh, is that something that would be desirable to you? Like, is that a game that you would want to experience, like a game that bills itself as the true horrors of warfare? And I ask you this because, like, everybody's seen movies like Saving Private Ryan and The Thin Red Line, but in a film you are a passive observer, as opposed to a game where you're an active participant in what's happening. So is that something that you're even interested in, Josh?
Like, I just referencing war movies and stuff like that. I like war movies, period piece kind of stuff like that, for the purpose of, I'm a history buff. I like learning about history. I like seeing what the time was like. I'm, again, as you said, a passive observer. It's I can get the emotional impact and stuff like that, but living out an experience of war, no. I mean, one of my honest greatest fears of my entire child and teenage years was that there was going to be some draft and I would be sent off and have to fight, my main thought was I'm entirely incompetent.
Well, that's not true, but please continue.
In that regard, I felt like I would be.
You'd be surprised at what you're capable of.
Yeah, that's the thing. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But still, that was something that terrified me. And literally still, listening to people's stories. If I want to hear people's stories, I want to know what people go through. I've said many times, I love stories. I love learning people. But war stories, real ones, give me nightmares. And I don't want to live that out in a video game. I have absolutely no interest. It's what I said earlier. if you want me to play some kind of first-person war game or even third-person, give me a sci-fi thing, give me a Halo thing, give me a thing with laser guns and laser swords.
Yeah.
You know, give me that quasi campiness.
Yeah, Titanfall.
And
You want
yeah.
Titanfall.
Titanfall or
Exactly.
Destiny. Yeah, right.
Something
Like,
that's more palatable to me. But you throw me in with a Call of Duty or a Battlefield or something that edges towards realism or goes, in this case, seemingly, as everyone was referencing, like
They use the word
live
military.
leaks.
I mean,
Exactly, military.
it's not
No.
a real military sim, but that's the word that they use.
I don't want to be real life. I don't want to be in a real life thing. I don't want to experience that. That is a hard pass for me.
well, and I had explained this to somebody once, Josh, when when they were like, well, how can you say that about Call of Duty, but you love games like Destiny? And I'm like, okay, but in Destiny you're shooting fucking alien tribes. Like you're not actually shooting at people. I have never shot at an alien shaman. Like, I've never done that, and I never will. So I don't have a problem
from the moon.
Yeah, I've never fired at a wizard who came from the moon before, because there are no wizards that come from the moon. It's a fictional situation, but I have shot at real live people before, and when I do that in a video game, there's something about it that is just it's different playing a game like The Last of Us when again you're in a fictional you're in a fictional situation, but there's something about a game being in a combat scenario to me, like an actual combat scenario that I am familiar with and have, is very similar to the kind of stuff I've been involved in, that is just extremely off-putting for me. Jeff,
one thing I'm curious, like they are this year specifically are putting a great deal of emphasis on the presentation of people just fucking dying.
Yeah.
Like the audio, the death gurgles, the animation, they said they're trying to be super realistic about it, like. And from you can't see any of that in the trailer, but from like YouTubers that went to the event and stuff, they were saying that it's just like when you shoot people in this game, like they fucking look like they're dying, and like that. I wonder, like, because first person shooters are my favorite genre.
Yeah.
Of all types, I've loved all of them, and I love sci-fi ones, I love modern military ones, but I was replaying Fear today, and it's very fun to shoot the clone troopers in that game. It's still fun to shoot the clone troopers in that game. And I was thinking a lot about that while I was playing Fear. I'm like, why is it fun to shoot these clone troopers? For a couple of different reasons. They don't animate like real people. When you shoot them, their fucking arms are flailing.
They get the ragdoll physics.
Yeah, they're ragdolling out like in over-exaggerated ways. Like when the physics are just crazy over the top, and it doesn't feel real. They're not humans. They're clone troopers. Like, even though they talk like real people, they're clearly not. And so it feels very disconnected from the violence, very over the top, very stylized. And then you have Soldier of Fortune, which is a game that I did not enjoy playing at the time, because they were at the time trying to be as realistic with the violence as humanly possible, and that was not appealing to me. Whereas, like I said, a game like Fear, where you shoot the clone trooper and he goes flying 5 feet up in the air, where he's like ragdolling like a crazy man, like that's still fun. That's still cool to me.
Because that's not what happens in real life, right? Like that's not what Justin's in chat. Justin, what's up, buddy? Like for me, Brandon, like honestly, when I hear somebody, when I hear a developer say, okay, well we're aiming for a realistic war scenario, a realistic wartime in the theater of battle experience. You're on the battlefield, and feel the way that talk about weapon feedback and aiming on the sights. But what I think of, I'm like, okay, but are you going to have the player character saying, "Oh Jesus Christ, oh Jesus Christ," over and over? Are you going to have guys crying on the field of battle? Are you going to have a guy with his intestines spilling out, screaming for his mom? Like that? Because
that they might, yes. But
that's that is a realistic war experience. I was fucking scared shitless when I was in combat the entire fucking time.
You had that in
original
Call of Duty, when I was trying to be saving private Ryan.
Jeff, what about you, man? Like, again, like when you hear a game say, look, we're really going to drill down, and it doesn't have to be Call of Duty, but that's just the example we have here. When you hear the developers say, we really want an authentic wartime experience, it's going to be painful, there's going to be a lot of death, it's going to be uncomfortable to play, it's going to be uncomfortable to watch. Like, is that something that is...
You can't pace that out into a
right
video game. You just can't. It's too compressed.
You can't
it's
at all
about getting from A to B moment to moment.
I got a few thoughts on that. The first one, so like from a personal perspective, like we were talking about, is this the kind of game you enjoy? I'm very similar to Brandon. I've talked to my girlfriend and just other people who don't really play video games, because like everyone who knows me knows like I will never even throw a punch in real life, like ever. I'm just not. I'm like a pacifist. Like if someone, I will always rather just let someone hit me and I'll just walk away. Like I just don't get involved in that stuff. And they're like, you play all these like shooting game stuff. Like I'm not shooting people. When I play Counter-Strike, which I've played quite a while as well. Like
Yeah,
I'm not shooting people. I'm just shooting targets on the
it
screen
feels
to
very
like win the
disconnected to
game.
me.
Like yeah, like I don't even think about the fact that I'm actually shooting a
Like
person or a
you know,
thing.
the original Modern Warfare Call of Duty came
Mhm.
out 2 weeks after I got back from my first deployment in Iraq, and it didn't feel connected at all. Like I literally went from doing one thing in real life to playing in a
Mhm.
video game 2 weeks later, but it didn't feel like the same thing.
Yeah, and
Like
like when
I don't
I'm
know. It depends. Everyone will process things differently, but it
and when
didn't
I'm
like to me even a representation of the same thing.
when I'm mowing down guys in the division, like they're just dropping loot, but like it's not like I'm not killing people. So, you know, just going into that, I'm okay with feeling uncomfortable playing a game if it serves a purpose. Although typically I play games to relax.
Hey everybody, Derek here. As I'm sitting down to edit this video, at this point, John loses internet connection and the entire show goes offline for a little bit. He does eventually come back, but I just want you to know that this really awkward edit is a result of internet connection issues, and part of the show was just lost for good. But they do come back and they do continue the discussion, and that'll happen right about now.
Oh wait, I think we might be in business.
Da 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 da. Yep.
We're back. We're back. Look at that. Outstanding. So we're okay. We're back. No, like for whatever reason, I don't know what happened, but our my internet took a huge shit. So, but it does look like we're back online. Jeff, please continue.
So I don't know where we lost touch, but I'll just finish what I was saying. So I play games typically to relax. I'm okay with having an uncomfortable experience if it services the story. But I don't want to play something uncomfortable that's just uncomfortable for the sake of it. So what I mean by that is like when I watch Band of Brothers, which is like one of my favorite all-time pieces of media about war. It's a 10-episode miniseries. It shows you the horrors of war. It's graphic. You see blood. You see guys get disfigured. Like you see the brutality and the pain and suffering of war, but you see it through the lens of characters that are well written and you care about, and you see how it affects them and how it changes them.
Yeah.
And that to me is that's the importance of that horror to the story. But just in and of itself, watching people die in front of me, I already know war is bad and it's uncomfortable. Like I need something more. I need you to tell me something. I need you to tell a story with that and say something beyond the fact that like killing people is bad, because
I feel like the problem like Call of Duty is
Mhm.
gonna have is that it's gonna be like the whole game you're going around shooting people and feeling bad about it. You're seeing all these like awful death animations. You're shooting children or you're shooting women that are holding children. Like whatever, like all. But then at the end of the game, you get through the 5-hour campaign, and they really make no attempt to like reconcile how like
yeah, like
all that. It just they play it straight.
what's it about? Like what did
what's
we
it about?
learn? So
Like
I guess
Spec Ops: The Line tries to tie it all up with multiple endings and stuff like that.
And Justin mentioned The Last of Us in chat. Absolutely. And that's one of my favorite games of all time, which I would never expect because it's incredibly brutal. But it's all about Joel's descent throughout the course of that game and what he's willing to do to achieve his goals. And it makes you grapple with, is this worth it? And it gives you the option of bypassing enemies and doesn't force you. Like there's more to it than just the ugliness. There's some warmth deep down behind it, and some love and some caring for other people that ties it all together. So that's what I need.
Yeah, that was a great way to put it, Jeff.
Will there be any loving and caring for other people in Call of Duty?
All kinds, dude. All kinds. Like,
questionable.
I mean, honestly, Brandon, if they wanted to give me a realistic military experience, they would just they'd make a game about boot camp, or a game about going to the fucking chow hall and standing in line.
Honestly, boot camp is ripe for the topic of a video game.
I would actually
you
love
could, like a
boot
slice
camp
of life game, like an indie style game, like of just about 3 months in boot camp would actually be a really cool game.
I would.
Just because it's so over the top,
It's so
ridiculous,
funny.
crazy, like nothing else you'll ever experience in your life.
When I was in,
And it's funny. It's funny. Like,
oh, it's
so
fucking
memorable.
hilarious,
So-
dude.
Yeah, like it's funny. So
Like-
I feel like they could make like it's. I mean, Full Metal Jacket is known for its boot camp, so you can make
Yeah.
a video game.
Oh,
You can make
dude,
a
you'll
video
love this.
game that's
When
just about boot
when I
camp.
was in boot camp, I had the big bifocals on, the birth control glasses, as we call them.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And,
yeah. VCs.
Oh yeah, and we were marching in formation one day, and my fucking mind was just all over the place, and we were marching as a platoon, and our drill instructor called us to halt, and I wasn't paying attention. I walked right into the recruit in front of me, and he was like, "Oh, good to go, Phipps, good to go. We can't fucking see where we're going. What happened?" And I was like, "Sir, this recruit couldn't see where he was going, sir." That's like the first thing I thought of. He was like, "Oh, good, you're fucking blind. Don't worry, I'm gonna help you." And so he took another pair of glasses and put them on my forehead, and I had to skip around the platoon and sing "I Can See Clearly Now the Rain Is Gone." It was fantastic. It was
Yes. There's material there.
Oh, there.
I'm surprised nobody has. I mean, that since Full Metal Jacket is so well known for its boot camp sequence, I'm surprised nobody's actually tried to make a little game out of that.
Maybe we will. Maybe I'll do it, Brandon. Maybe you and me will do it.
We'll add it in RPG Maker. We'll make.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna do it in dreams, Brandon. I'm gonna make a boot.
We'll make a boot camp game.
I'm gonna make a Marine Corps boot camp game in dreams. It's gonna be fucking great. All right, we should go ahead and wrap it up here. Josh ran off. I don't even know where he went. It's just I look over and his fucking chair is empty.
We're pretty much wrapping up the show.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up. I want to thank everybody in chat. We had an active chat tonight. I love seeing the chat hopping like that. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. I will remind you, feel free to sub if you want. We're not going to pressure you, but if you want, you'll get that cool sake emoji. And we've got some more emojis coming as well. So that's really cool. We do have a Patreon. If you guys want to go subscribe to us on Patreon, throw us a few dollars to help us get to conventions to provide you guys more coverage or maybe get some better equipment. But again, we don't gate any of our We don't gate any of our content at all. So if you throw us a few dollars, it's out of the goodness in your heart. There's no obligation to. We just appreciate you showing up here every Thursday night. I do want to say that I think the plan is we have Imran Khan from Game Informer on next week. Imran, did we confirm that you're going to be on? Just go ahead and say yes or no in chat. But I do believe that the plan is for Imran to come on. Josh? Who is this? Josh, what do we have here?
Josh, you're muted.
Josh, you're muted.
I couldn't get it to unmute. I was trying. This is Sora. He keeps wandering off from my wife, and so I needed to take him for a minute.
It's a podcast. Okay, this podcast just got too fucking wholesome for Twitch.
Does Sora have opinions on Death Stranding?
Sora, do you have any opinions on Death Stranding? Vacant stare. We've got a vacant stare here.
Like most of us after we play that game.
Sora,
that sounds all right.
Sora, can you give me an opinion as to the Catholic allegories in the final boss fight with Kefka in Final Fantasy VI? What do you think about the image of the of Madonna on the rocks in the third tier of that boss battle? What is your opinion on that?
I'm wearing the headset. You have to repeat all that again.
Okay, sure, no problem. Wait till Reb finds out that there was a little baby on this podcast and she wasn't here for it.
I'll bring him back on for a future appearance.
But yeah, so Imran confirmed. So Imran Khan from Game Informer will be Justin in chat. Jesus, Imran will be on the podcast next week, which is our last podcast before E3. We're going to be doing a lot of E3 streaming. We're going to be streaming every single conference, and I believe Sam Tolbert, as is the SDGC tradition, Sam will be joining us for some of those streams. So please look forward to that. We got more guests planned for you coming up soon. And, of course, don't forget to tune in right here at twitch.tv/official SDGC tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where episode 2 of our morning show is going to go live for everybody to listen to. We have a name for it. It's called Praise the Sun, which is really the only name that you could have for such a podcast. And even though Reb is out of town tomorrow, it will be me and Derek joined by our very good friend Anthony Agnello, whom you all know and love. Anthony's a great guy. It's going to be fucking outstanding. We're going to have a great time, and we're going to be talking about video game film adaptations. So I'm really looking forward to that. So if please join us tomorrow at 9. We also go live on Monday at 8 with Megalixir for mental health, and that is with Justin and Josh and myself. And yeah, a lot of good content coming your way. And we are also recording more Final Fantasy retrospectives this weekend. I think me and Finn and a couple other people are going to wrap them up from Final Fantasies 11 to 15, and we will get those out to you. And we also have episode 2 of Lore of the Things coming up, and we're going to be talking about Chrono Cross. Very excited about all that stuff. Thank you, everybody, so much for all your support. And as always, it's not always poetry, and we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. So until next week, everybody, please be kind to each other. Take care of one another. Take care of one another, because at the end of the day, all we have is each other. Take it easy, everybody.